You wake up and the first thing you reach for isn't your purpose, it's your phone. And for a split second, before the screen lights up, there's this quiet tension in your chest. A question you don't say out loud. Did anyone notice me? And when the answer is silence, it stings. More than you admit. You scroll. You check again. You replay conversations from yesterday, wondering if you said too much or not enough. You adjust yourself in your own head. Softer here, smarter there, more likable, more acceptable, and slowly, without realizing it, you begin to disappear. Not all at once, not dramatically, but piece by piece. And the worst part? You call it being normal. You call it getting along. But deep down, something feels off, like you're living in your own life, but as a guest. Comment yes if this feels familiar. Because centuries ago, a man who had everything, power, wealth, absolute control, sat alone and wrote something that should stop you cold. Marcus Aurelius ruled the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Armies moved at his command. Nations bowed to his authority. And yet, he wrote, "I am afraid I am becoming someone worse. Not weak, not defeated, worse." And if a man like that feared losing himself, then maybe the problem was never about what you have or don't have. Maybe it was always about something deeper. Something you keep running from without even knowing it. The more you need approval, the less control you have over yourself. And you feel that every time you hesitate before speaking your truth. Every time you water down your opinion to avoid tension. Every time you shape yourself into something easier for others to accept. You think you're keeping peace. But what you're really doing is renting out your identity. Marcus saw this clearly. He watched senators, generals, advisors, all performing. Every word calculated, every gesture designed for an audience. And then he caught himself doing the same thing. That's the part that hurts. Because you recognize it, you don't just see it in others. You see it in yourself. He wrote that a man who needs applause to feel whole has handed the keys to his soul to strangers. Let that sink in. Every time you change who you are depending on who's watching, you lose a little more control. And it doesn't feel dramatic. It feels subtle, reasonable, justified. But over time, it builds into something heavy. Something suffocating. You don't even know what you truly think anymore, because you've been editing yourself for too long. And then there are people. Difficult people. The ones who lie, manipulate, disappoint. The ones who make you question your patience, your kindness, your limits. You expect better from them. You hope they'll change. And every time they don't, it hits you again. The frustration, the disbelief, the anger. But Marcus did something almost impossible. Every morning, he reminded himself that he would meet ungrateful people, dishonest people, jealous people, not to become cold, but to stop being surprised. Because the moment you stop being surprised by human weakness, you stop being controlled by it. Most of your suffering doesn't come from what people do. It comes from your expectation that they should be different. And when reality doesn't match that expectation, you break. Again and again, Marcus asked a brutal question. Why are you shocked? This is what people do sometimes. This is what you do sometimes. Meet it with understanding, or meet it with firmness. But stop meeting it with disbelief. Disbelief is pain you choose to repeat. Drop a yes below if you understand this. And then comes the truth you don't want to hear. Comfort is not your friend. It is your slow replacement. You think comfort is rest. You think it's reward. But most of the time, it's erosion. It's waking up and choosing the easier path again. And again. And again. Marcus lived surrounded by luxury. Endless feasts. Pleasure within reach at all times. And he wasn't impressed. He was afraid. Not because pleasure is evil, but because he saw what it did to people. He saw strong men become soft. Disciplined men become careless. Brave men become passive. And it never happened overnight. That's the danger. It happened quietly, gradually. You don't notice it until life demands something difficult from you, and you reach for strength that isn't there anymore. He wrote about mornings, about how warm the bed felt, how easy it was to stay there. And then he asked himself a question that cuts deep. If you cannot win a fight against your own blanket, what exactly do you think you are capable of? That's not about the blanket. That's about your ability to act when it's uncomfortable, when no one is watching, when there's no reward. Because the person you keep waiting to become is being built right now. In silence, In the moments nobody sees. There is no future version of you that suddenly becomes disciplined, suddenly becomes confident, suddenly becomes strong. That version is either being created right now, or it isn't. Every time you delay action, every time you compromise your standards, you're casting a vote for the person you're becoming. Marcus understood this with ruthless clarity. He knew that character isn't revealed in crisis. It's exposed, built long before the moment arrives. In how you speak when you're tired. In how you act when no one is checking. In how you treat people who can offer you nothing. That's who you are, not your intentions, not your plans, your actions. Repeated, quiet, consistent. And still, even with all that awareness, he struggled. He failed. He caught himself slipping. But he never stopped noticing. Never stopped correcting. That's the difference. Growth isn't perfection. It's awareness plus effort. Every single day. Then there's something even harder. Something that goes against your instinct. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided who you are. You know this feeling. You want to clear your name. You want to fix the misunderstanding. You want them to see you correctly. So you talk. You justify. You defend. And nothing changes. Because they're not listening. They decided long ago what you are. Marcus had enemies who twisted his words, questioned his motives, attacked his character while he was alive. And his response? Silence. Not weakness. Not avoidance. Discipline. Because he understood something most people don't. Explanation only works when the other person is open. Otherwise, it feeds the noise. He wrote, "Never waste words on people who deserve only silence and results." And that's where your power is. Not in convincing everyone, but in becoming undeniable over time. Through action, through consistency, through who you are when nobody is watching. And then, one of the quietest truths, but maybe the most important, you are allowed to start over. Today, not tomorrow, not next week, now. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need a big moment. You don't need permission. You just need a decision. Marcus failed. Often. He lost his temper. He made decisions he regretted. He wasn't perfect, not even close. But he never used yesterday as an excuse for today. He never said, "I messed up before, so I'll keep messing up." He refused to let his past define his next action. Most people don't do that. They carry their mistakes like a sentence. Like proof that they're not good enough. They replay their worst moments again and again, until it becomes their identity. Marcus said, "Put it down, not because it doesn't matter, but because carrying it makes you weaker for what comes next." And finally, the truth that cuts deeper than all of them. Do not wait to be worthy of your own life. You keep telling yourself you'll start later. When things settle down, when you have more time, more confidence, more clarity, you keep postponing your life, as if it hasn't already started. But every day you wait is a day you didn't show up. A day you weren't present. A day you traded your reality for an idea of a better future. And that future never comes. Because it's always later. Always just out of reach. Marcus saw this in himself. A man with everything, still waiting. Still delaying. Still thinking there would be a better moment to live fully. And then he realized something brutal. That moment doesn't exist. It never did. Type yes if you're ready to take your power back. Because your life isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's happening right now, in the small choices, in the quiet moments, in the way you think, speak, act, when no one is watching. That's where your freedom is built, not in perfect conditions, but in controlled responses. You don't need to control everything. You can't, but you can control yourself. Your effort, your reactions, your discipline. That's enough, more than enough. Marcus Aurelius died far from home. No ceremony, no grand ending. Just a man, in the cold, still trying to become better than he was the day before. And that's the real lesson. Not perfection, not success, but effort, honest, relentless, quiet effort. Because in the end, that's all you really have. The chance to become someone you respect. The chance to live a life that is yours. Fully, completely, without apology. And the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop performing, the moment you take back control, that's the moment your life actually begins.